Literacy 24/7. Literacy 24/7, a fundraiser for Literacy Network. I have pledged to read Ulysses for an hour every night this week, and I've been making headway very slowly. Tonight's passage starts at around page 312 in this edition, the Vintage International edition. And in this passage, it's about 5 o'clock in the one day in Bloom's day here. And at this time, some of the characters have convened around a pub, and they're drinking and chatting. And the strangest thing about Joyce's language is he's alternating between very ornamented language, very formal, highly stylized formal language, and low, coarse, sometimes even insulting language. So the characters that we're going to encounter here, Terry and Joe, a man called the Citizen, and a narrator, and a few others come in from time to time, and my favorite character, Leopold Bloom, comes in and has a little bit of discussion with the characters here. So, we begin. Gob, he's not as green as he's cabbage-looking, arsing around from one pub to another, leaving it to your own honor with old Giltrap's dog and getting fed up by the ratepayers and the corporators. Entertainment for man and beast. And says Joe, "Could you make a hole in another pint?" "Could a swim duck?" says I. "Same again, Terry," says Joe. "Are you sure you won't have anything in the way of liquid refreshment?" says he. "Thank you, no," says Bloom. "As a matter of fact, I just wanted to meet Martin Cunningham. Don't you see about this insurance of poor Dignam's? Martin asked me to go to the house. You see, he, Dignam, didn't serve any notice of the assignment of the company at the time, and nominally the assignment of the company at the time, under the act of the mortgagee, can't recover on the policy." "Holy wars," says Joe, laughing. "That's a good one if old Shylock has landed. So the wife comes out top dog, what?" "Well, that's the point, see," says Bloom. "For the wife's admirers." "Whose admirers?" said Joe. "The wife's advisors, says Bloom. Then he starts all confused, mucking it up about the mortgagor under the act, and the Lord Chancellor giving it out on the bench for the benefit of the wife that a trust is created. But on the other hand, that Dignam owed Bridgman the money, and if now the wife or the widow contested the mortgagee's right, till he near had the head of me addled with his mortgagor under the act. He was bloody safe. He wasn't run in himself under the act at the time as a rogue and a vagabond, until only he had a friend in court, selling bazaar tickets, or what do you call it, Royal Hungarian Privileged Lottery. True as you're there, oh, commend me to an Israelite, Royal and Privileged Hungarian Robbery. So Bob Dornan comes lurching around, asking Bloom to tell Mrs. Dignam he was sorry for her trouble, and he was very sorry about the funeral, and to tell her that he said, and everyone who knew him said, there was never a truer finer than poor little Willie that's dead to tell her, choking with bloody foolery, and shaking Bloom's hand, and doing the tragic to tell her that. Shake hands, brother, you're a rogue, and I'm another. Let me, said he, so far presume upon our acquaintance, which, however slight it may appear, if judged by the standard of mere times, is founded, as I hope and believe, on a sentiment of mutual esteem, as to request of you this favour. But should I have overstepped the limits of reserve, let sincerity of my feelings be the excuse for my boldness. No, rejoined the other. I appreciate to the full the motives which actuate your conduct, and I shall discharge the office you entrust to me, consoled by the reflection that, though the errand be one of sorrow, the proof of your confidence sweetens in some measure the bitterness of the cup. Then suffer me to take your hand, says he. The goodness of your heart, I feel sure, will dictate to you better than my inadequate words the expressions which are most suitable to convey an emotion whose poignancy, were I to give vent to my feelings, would deprive me even of speech. And off with him, and out trying to walk straight, boozed at 5 o'clock. Night he was near being lagged only by Paddy Leonard, knew the Bobby 14A, blind to the world in a shebeen in Bride Street after closing time, fornicating with 2 shawls and a bully on guard, drinking porter out of teacups, and calling himself a Frenchie for the shawls, Joseph Manuo, and talking against the Catholic religion, and he serving Mass in Adam and Eve's when he was young with his eyes shut, who wrote the New Testament and the Old Testament, and hugging and snugging. And the 2 shawls killed with the laughing, picking his pockets, the bloody fool, and he spilling the porter all over the bed, and the 2 shawls screeching, laughing at one another. "How is your Testament? Have you got an Old Testament?" Only Paddy was passing there, I tell you what. Then see him of a Sunday with his little concubine of a wife, and she wagging her tail up the aisle of the chapel with her patent boots on her, no less, and her violets nice as pie, doing the little lady, Jack Mooney's sister, and the old prostitute made him toe the line. Told him if he didn't patch up the pot, Jesus, he'd kick the shite out of him. So Terry bought 3 pints. "Here," says Joe, doing the honors. "Here, citizen." "Slan leat," says he. "Fortune," says Joe. "Fortune, Joe," says I. "Good health, citizen." Gob, he had his mouth halfway down the tumbler already. What a small fortune to keep him in drinks. "Who is the long fellow running for the mayoralty, Alf?" says Joe. "Friend of yours," says Alf. "Nannan, the mimber?" "I won't mention any names," says Alf. "Thought so," says Joe. "I saw him picking up at that meeting now with William Field, MP, the cattle traders."